Anyway, what are you wearing today? We should do a wristwatch check.
I'm wearing my Bulova Accutron.
Oh wow! That's the new one you've got, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
That's the retro that you did a video on.
Yep.
Oh, liking that's gold.
Yeah, it's gold. And here, let me get it up to the camera a little.
And it's got LCD display.
Yep, LED display, and yeah.
And it's 11:46 where you are.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy? 11:46.
That is lovely. Just great. The actual bracelet really tapers and things. And it's got a really good retro looking strap.
It really does, and I love the look of the bracelet under certain light. Just really,
And I think it was your video, wasn't it, that showed that it shows the time. So in such a position that it's to do when you're driving your sports car and things.
Yeah, so when you're driving like with one hand on the wrist, you can just go like this and see the time.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
And the advert at the time was this really cool guy driving a sports car, looking at the time, and then some guy on a cycle pulls up next to him who's got shades on, and they look at each other and they're equally cool, and then he looks at his watch as well.
Yep, and they have something in common, like some little like hipster nerd versus
oh, great! I just love that. That's great.
Man,
yeah. What's there's another brand that do? What's the French brand that do? Oh, Yema. Yeah, Yema have got something a bit similar to that I've looked at and thought about getting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, excellent.
I forget what it's called too, but I remember seeing the ads for the Yema. That is nice.
Yeah. It's really nice.
How about you? What are you wearing?
So I've actually got my Boulder Expedition on.
Ooh, I was watching your video this morning. Yeah. I was just refreshing myself. That boulder's so nice.
And I've worn lots of straps on it. It's a real strap monster. The strap it came on, the green rubber it came on is excellent, really thick and excellent, really sort of, nice to wear and, not stiff or anything. But this is a nylon leatherback Christopher Ward strap.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, ages ago, they did some sort of ceramic watch, which had this strap on. And I bought the watch, but I didn't keep it. I really love the strap. And then eventually, I think, in one of their sales that they have twice a year, I bought a couple of these, one in black, this one, and one in a sort of greeny colour. And I've never found anything that this strap works with. The green one, the other one I've used on a few different watches. Mm-hmm. And now I honestly think that this strap really works on this watch.
That's beautiful.
And it's not quick release or anything, so we just tend to mainly leave it on there. And the green one, which I've got on the Alpinist, they absolutely last forever, these straps do. They're just so good. If you ever get these nylon leatherback straps in a Christopher Ward sale, just buy loads of them. They're just so good. But not that you need to for yourself, because they last forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like this watch because instead of it having the sort of diver's bezel, it's got the internal bezel, so you can just wear any strap.
Oh, I
like that. You
can
put leather on it, because I'm a little bit funny like that. I know a lot of people now, more and more so, are putting like leather straps on the diver watches.
Yeah, it's becoming a new trend.
I just can't get into that. I can do anything but leather. I can have it on a bracelet, I can have it on a rubber, I can have it on a nylon. But I think with this watch, I can put the leather on. It just looks good with everything. And
I've been putting that waterproof leather. Have you ever heard about the waterproof leather straps?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, Christopher Ward again used to make some of them ones. Yeah,
I like those. Those are pretty nice because they dry instantly versus that wet, soggy feeling of leather.
Yeah, no, definitely. So
I like how your anti-reflective coating on that watch is like really shows the blue and stuff under the light. It's nice.
It's a really good watch actually. But enough, I think what the earlier video I actually made for the Boulder Expedition, the 1 week on the rest, there was a chap who'd actually commented on that video a couple of days ago, and he was like, "Oh, I've got a bit of a smaller wrist than you. Will it still work?" And we'd done a lot of to and fro of messages, and anyway, eventually he was convinced, and then he didn't say what size his wrist was, but it was just under 7 inches. He said, "Oh, just go for it. It'll be absolutely fine with that size." And anyway, and then he showed me he was going to buy this new, I think it was called Senai or something, which it's kind of similar to that, but it's got almost like an orange for the indices and numbers and things, and hands and everything. And then it actually, the loom is actually really bright. Is very orange.
Oh wow.
And and the case is black, like some sort of PVD black, and it looks absolutely fantastic. And I'd sort of seen it before, but not really give it a lot of thought. And then just by having this conversation about it with this guy suddenly says, "Oh yeah," he told me it's again. So I thought, "Oh, I'll look it up before I reply to him." And then I looked it up and I just replied to him and said, "Oh, that is absolutely fine. I love that." And I thought I almost want to go out and buy another one because it's such a great watch. And then that one, which is very, almost similar to this, but just orange. And it's almost like you wouldn't think it would work being sort of all black case and everything, and then almost orange in season, but it looks absolutely brilliant. It really does look good. So that is something I'm kind of thinking, oh, I'll mind that at some point in time. So I don't know.
That's funny.
Sometimes you almost have to sell what you've got and then just go out and buy one in a different color or something.
I've actually never done that before. I've always just, I see something I like, I grab it, or I have to sell something that I am not using too often.
Well, I did it with I bought the Seiko Samurai, and I bought the I can't remember what they call it now, but the one where it's like blue. I think it was to Save the Ocean. So it was blue, and it had almost like this wave, and the really, the blue in it, it's sort of in the light, it caught it. It looked like the sea. It was really brilliant. But what I didn't like is had one of them dials. I think they call it like a gradient where it gets darker towards the bottom. And so the idea is that I believe that the sea gets darker as you go down in depth, obviously.
Yeah, in depth, yeah.
And so, but what it was almost like 2/3 of it was this lovely, most gorgeous blue, and the bottom third, it wasn't like gradual, it was just like dark. And it was almost like a different color. And I just, almost loved it, but I just didn't like this gradient thing. So I sold the watch and now I've gone out and bought another one in totally different colors and things. But I must admit, I do look back sometimes at photos of me wearing that watch and sometimes think, oh, did I do the right thing? I think the watch just looks great. Just the way it used to catch the light, but I just didn't like it. Often when you just, in certain lights, you could just see the darkness of that bottom third. The gradient thing, and I just didn't like it.
I'm looking at a Seiko Samurai myself. I think that might be my next get. Like, if I
really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a turtle. I had the Blue Lagoon, which I sold a few days ago, and I had that 18 months, and it was a lovely watch, and the color of it with the little yellow bits. But I didn't. I think prefer the Samurai. I prefer the Samurai to the turtle. How much do they go
for the Samurais?
Yeah, I just feel that it's just got that real modern futuristic shape, and I think it's just to me it's just the image of a samurai. Yeah. When you see the sort of YouTube videos and you can see all those samurai, and it's just cool. It's just so cool, isn't it? It's samurai.
It is really cool.
What could be cooler than that?
What got you into watches?
I think I've always worn a watch. Like for work. I was never knew anything about them or had any interest. Throughout most of my life, but I always had a sort of watch that I would wear daily for work, and I'd have a better watch that I would wear when I went out. But now looking back, the sort of watch I'd wear for work would be a sort of £50 quartz, and what I would think was of a best watch would probably be like a £75 sort of quartz watch, and back then I'd probably I would be absolutely. If I'd lost one of them watches, I'd be terrified that I'd lost something really precious and valuable. You know what I mean? But they were just like, and them watches. I mean, what I consider to be my best watch, it was some Japanese make. It was I can't think of the make, but I'd had it for like 20 years. It was like brand new, and most people, it was just like worthless, but. I just didn't realise that. And then when I got into it, I sort of almost give it away the day after, like, I now realise this is worthless and it's really old, and I just gave it away. I probably wish I hadn't.
There's nothing that sparked the interest though, like that, like you just one day were like, I'm going to start getting into this watches, or I'm going to start,
Yeah, I tell you what it was. I think when I was browsing on the internet, for some reason, you sort of get adverts, you get plagued by adverts coming on your screen. And I think once or twice, very clever, I got these I think it was Christopher Ward actually. I got these Christopher Ward ones, and it worked because I found myself starting to look at the Christopher Ward website, and you know, and I learned a lot. I learned that there was different types of watches. You know, there was diver watches and there was motorsport watches, and I learned a lot. And I was looking at them, and then, you know, I'd learned, you know, the difference between a quartz and an, and just by really looking at their watches. And I actually, when I started looking at their website, I thought, you know, I'm never gonna be able to buy one. You know, they're like really expensive. You know, like I thought, like, you know, anything over £100 is ridiculous for a watch. You know, and they, you know, and this is like about 6 years ago, and I'm looking at their watches, and they're like £700 for a watch, the diver watch. And I thought, oh, it's amazing. Like the bezel turns around, and, you know, you can go in water to up to 600 meters. All I wanted then was, I want one of these watches, but they're like, you know, £750. And then, anyway, so I kept looking at them every so often. This went on for a few months. And then in the sort of December, January, and I didn't realize them, they just had this sale on, and these watches were off price. And I thought,
you're kidding me.
Shall I, shan't I? So I got my first, well, debatable first, because I'd actually sort of swapped a watch with a guy at work about 2 days before it arrived. But I'd actually purchased my first automatic watch, which was this Christopher Ward C60, which I bought for, I think it was something like £335. And when that came,
automatic too?
Yeah, automatic.
Oh, shoot.
And yeah, it's their C60. And I sort of, you know, I remember walking over the park with a few friends, and, you know, and they'll say, oh, what's this new watch you've been on about? Blah, blah, blah. You know, oh, you know, they'd got these sort of very cheap, sort of like £20 watches they just picked up from a supermarket. And I showed them, they went, oh, it is really nice, yeah. And I sort of, you know, I couldn't really go wrong because I got it at a good price. But as soon as it arrived, I opened it and I thought, this is absolutely amazing. I got blown away. And I thought, I've so got to keep this watch. You know, this is so fantastic. And I thought, but it's cost £335. I don't know if I dare keep it. I got 6 days to return it. This is just insane. I don't think I better keep this. And, you know, anyway, I kind of at the same time knew I was going to keep it. So what got you into the hobby of watching? How long have you been sort of interested?
ADHD got me into it. So like I was a little pain in the butt kid in class, and one day I got a watch. It was a Timex from my grandfather. He passed away. I didn't really know him. It was my dad's dad. And I started like watching the seconds go around and calm myself down, and I thought it was kind of cool. So then my grandfather, who lives with me now, then gave me his watch and goes, this is an old Omega. Have fun with it. Yeah. So I was like, oh, sweet. So I had this Omega, and that's what kind of sparked my interest.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. No, that's
and my dad kind of likes watches. He's like into it, but he's not like into it as much as I am. So like that was me and my dad's like little hobby, going around looking at watches. Yeah.
Well, I mean, none of my friends, no family, nobody's really into watches. But I suppose now people got used to me because you know, was watch types. We always turn the conversation around to watches, and people say, "Oh, you know, you're talking about watches again." You know, and so now they kind of know me, and you know, I suppose people that, you know, because my main hobby is climbing and things. So a lot of my friends that I do that sort of thing with, you know, aren't into hobbies. So once, you know, every so often I might say to one of them, "Oh, I've got to come out of the closet. I've got to admit it." Oh, you know, what's cracking off? What you can tell us? Well, I'm actually quite interested in watches. Oh, what watch? It's like, so yeah. I think, you know, I kind of almost do it in a joking manner, as if it's going to be something really terrible, and which probably is in some ways. But yeah, I think my sort of friends know me now, and I've probably sent to a couple of my friends, one or two of my better climbing friends, have probably sent a link to a couple of my YouTube videos. And to be honest, I sort of say, you know, oh, you know, can you comment on my video? And a lot of them are sort of, when I speak to them, say, did you watch the video? Oh, to be honest, it's I'm not interested in watches, or oh, I'm sure your watch friends will be interested in that, but I gave up halfway through. It's just too much about watches, you know. It's like, can't you just give me feedback on, you know, things like the camera work, or, you know, it doesn't got to be just about the watches. And I think I've won a few over where they will watch it and give me feedback and things, but I think it's been quite hard work with quite a few of them. So we can't understand it because we're in the sort of 0.001% that are interested in watches, but like normal people and the rest of the world just don't get it.
Well, that's why I'm like, for my example, my channel, I'm aiming for like my friends who don't like watches. I'm trying to make it seem as like, I want this watch to seem like it was God's gift to watches, even though it was just like, you know what I'm saying? Like if you entice people and excite people, you can get the bug. And I want to give people the bug. So like I don't aim to give my friends my watch videos because I know that they're not into watches themselves. But it's good when I do, like every once in a while, like a friend will call me and be like, dude, I've been watching your watch videos. Like I actually want to get a watch that looks like that. Or like a friend of mine commented and goes, dude, I hate watches. But I love watching your videos because it makes me laugh. So it's a good feling, when like you are able to meet someone and turn them into a hobby that you're into.
It's hard. Well, I'll tell you something. Just going back to my mate Steve, who gave me that this morning. I tried to get him into nano blocks, not quite did it, but he is into making, like I say, models of rockets and things like that. But I tried to get him into watches, and he has been looking at the Christopher Ward website, believe it or not. And he likes the red bezel, the black one. And the sale came up and it was available. I tried to get him to buy it, and he's still, no, I've got plenty. Oh, I'm still looking. And I've actually lent him a load of my watches. And I think the NOWS Trieste was the which has got a black PVD case, is the one that he's liked the most. I think we've got some questions. Shall we just shoot a few questions?
Of course, I'd love that. Yeah.
The first one was favorite watch in your own collection and in my collection. That's for you.
All right. So the favorite watch in my collection happens to be my Zodiac Grand Rally. I really like my Zodiac Grand Rally. I think that gunmetal face and it's like the reverse panda is gorgeous. Nice. I love my Zodiac. And it just like, it had like some hidden talents in it, like had some hidden features, like you could adjust the strap without needing tools. It's toolless adjustment. It was really nice.
That's always good for strap changes. Yeah, definitely.
And my favorite for yours is Samurai. Oh my god, the Seiko Samurai was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Love your Seiko Samurai.
Yeah. My favorite watch that I own, I actually think it is probably my Boulder Expedition. I think it's because it's a really good all-round watch. It's a field watch. I do tend to do quite a lot of walking and climbing. I don't actually wear a watch when I'm actually rock climbing. I do take it off, but if I was sort of out on to hike for an hour, I'd probably have it on, and then I'd probably just take it off and put it in my bag, and then actually do the rock climbing, and then I put it back on again. And it's a really good all-round watch. You can wear it with different straps. You can put it on leather, rubber. And I really like the internal bezel thing as well. I think that really works rather than external bezel. It just makes it much more versatile.
It's really cool,
and it's a real strap monster. So my Boulder Expedition, and in your collection was really tricky, to be honest, because I was torn between 3 watches. I like your you got a Rolex. Was it Oyster Perpetual?
Yeah, Rolex Datejust.
Datejust with the diamond indices.
Markers, yeah.
I like that one. It was difficult because I didn't know sizes and things. What sort of diameter is that one?
I believe I think it's a 35, 36. I forget.
It might be a tad small.
It's under 40. I know that. I haven't measured it. Oh my god, I should definitely do that.
I think 39. If that was 39, 38, 39, 38 or 39, it would be perfect. 36, it would still be, and I think that maybe is an old one with sentimental value. So that's great. But if I was thinking to get one very similar to yours, maybe that, but a little bit bigger. So I do like that. That's one of them. I do like your Breitling Adventure Seawolf. Again, I'm going for brands because I like Rolex. And Breitling is probably one of my favorite brands they haven't got.
Oh my god, Breitling's so nice.
I got a bit of regret because I came very close to buying a Breitling. The only thing I didn't, it was a great price, it was great condition, everything was great, but if it had a black dial, I'd definitely bought it, but it got a silver dial, and everything on the Breitling is silver. The bracelet's silver, even the bezel and everything. And because it got a silver dial, it was almost maybe too much silver. So I didn't buy it. And then your new one was your Alpina.
The Alpina is perfect size. I think that's a 43.
43 is a really good size.
Yeah.
I think that looks really smart. And I think, you know, Alpina, I think what you said, I think it was, you get a lot of bang
for your buck. Yep.
I remember on your video.
Yep.
And I think I like that one. So I think out of the three, from just discussion and sizes and everything, I think I would probably go with the Breitling Adventure, to be honest. Avenger, Breitling Avenger as my first choice. And then I think just because of the size, I'd probably go for the Alpina, and then I'd probably go for the Datejust. But if I could get that Datejust in 38 or 39 millimeters, that probably would be my first. What is our next question? It's biggest regret.
Biggest regrets.
There's three parts here. And I'll just go through them, and then so there was an owned and sold, bought and didn't like, didn't buy. So what's your biggest regret for owned and sold?
I got two. One of them is that I traded my grandfather's watch. It was an Omega, and it was an old 50s Omega. I traded it for a broken Tag Heuer. Dumbest decision ever. And but I just got it back, so I'm happy about that. It's in the shop right now. I tracked it down, got it back, and it's just getting fixed in the shop. And then the next one is giving my Waltham pocket watch away. It was from like the 1800s. It was so cool. For like a 30 rack of beer when I was 17.
Yeah. The next one for you, Bill, is bought and didn't like.
Bought and didn't like. So Casio, that's my biggest one. I bought the Casio because everyone always hypes up that company. Oh my God, Casio's this, Casio that. And I wanted to try it. It was just felt cheap. Everyone's like, oh, it's bang for buck. I spent like what, $12 on it, and I felt like I got a $12 watch. Like, didn't feel like anything special.
Yeah, I think for me, I couldn't even give you names now, but I bought a couple of like quite cheapish quartz watches because I like the look of them, but I've just never. I might sound a bit of a snob here. It's very rarely. I think with quartz, it has to be something a bit different, like the Bulova. It has to be really accurate, or it has to have something has to be a bit different about quartz for me. Just a standard quartz, I'm not always so keen on. But unless it's got having said that, if it's a chronograph, just like one of the small dials has got the quartz, is probably, I think with chronograph it's probably okay because one thing about a chronograph, you really want accuracy, so that really makes sense to have a quartz anyway. And if you buy an automatic chronograph, you're going to spend a fortune when you have to service it and things. So it does make sense for a chronograph in particular. But I've bought a couple of almost fashion light watches, thinking, oh, look quite nice when I go out, a bit dressed up. And they've just been a bit like Daniel Wellington. They've been a bit sort of very fashion. So what about you? What's your favorite brand?
Ooh, tough. I'd have to say my favorite brand is definitely the Breitling. Breitling is one of my favorite brands. Let's see what else have I really liked.
I think that's why I like Breitling. Because you telling me how good they are as well has really made me even more like Breitling.
Yeah, I love them. They're my favorite brand so far that I've had. I really liked. I had a Bomb in Messier that was really nice that I had to get rid of. But that was actually a really nice watch that I had for a little while. That's pretty much my two favorites.
Yeah, no, excellent. Yeah. What about micro brands? What sort of micro brands?
See, I don't know.
You've had Christopher Ward. You've had Christopher Ward in the past.
I had Christopher Ward, but I wouldn't say that's my favorite micro brand. My favorite.
I think they've gone a bit too sort of like light catchy, like thin cases. They're a little bit fashion. Got logo in strange places and things.
Yeah, it's too much for me to handle right now. The Christopher Wards, but I love Timex. That's another great brand that I just love.
It's a funny one, Timex, because I've talked to you about it before. I think it was in the 80s. They set up in Dundee in Scotland.
Yeah, and they
had a bad time. There was, it became a big strike. The whole thing was on the news, and workers got very hostile, and it was, and apparently even today, I'd actually put something. I did a little bit of a blog about this. This is maybe a year or two ago, about this thing in Dundee. I think there was a video. There's a video about it, all about it. I think I might
you showed me. I watched it. Yeah, you did send me the link.
And,
I watched it. Yeah.
Anyway, I'd actually put it on the blog, and somebody had actually sent a reply in and said that he was from Dundee, and he said he recognised some people in the video, and he used a Scottish word. It was very Scottish, the word he used, but he said something like, if they're still like muck or something, like the muck in Dundee. Don't mention Timex in Dundee. They're still. I can't remember the word he used, but it was Scottish, meaning like they're still, like hated,
shamed or hated. Yeah.
It's like they're muck, or I can't remember what it probably wasn't muck, but he'd used some sort of term. It was very politely written, and I find it quite amusing that. He said, "Oh, I recognise people, but but never, don't mention them in Dundee because they're muck. People, everyone in Dundee still thinks Timex are muck. I don't know. Cause I think it's probably because is the factory quite close to where you live now? Is it quite sort of?
Yeah, it's the next state over. So yeah,
I suspect that they are a very American brand, and that in the 80s that big American corporate thing didn't quite wash in Dundee, and they'd actually employed a lot of locals, and I suppose back then it was almost equivalent to outsourcing to China, getting the Chinese to make to manufacture the cases and the watches very cheap, which is what all brands do now. But I think back then, I think Timex thought, well, this was before. Now they probably get most of the stuff done in China. I don't know. Yeah. But, back then it wasn't China. Where can we have it?
It was the Brits.
Dundee. Yeah, let's go to Dundee,
Let's get the Scots involved. Let's do that right now. Yeah.
And it just this whole corporate thing. It was, if you watch the video, all these sort of very, very sort of, America were probably about 10 years in advance of Scotland at the time, and it was all this big corporate, posh Americans coming to Dundee. It didn't work, But I know that Timex have made a really revival, and they've bought some really interesting watches out over the last few years.
They have
really interesting.
The Q. Oh my God, the Timex Q. People are loving that.
And they're doing some more. They've done a couple of automatics and things because they're very much into the quartz thing, I think.